My client went from spending hours a week manually introducing data from their documents into their system from a 2,000 document backlog to now having it completely automated. Let me show you how I did it so that you can do it too. Here was their situation. They have spent a ton of money and a ton of hours training their employees into a process to capture lessons learned and improvements that they have applied into their machines when they are doing maintenance prevention. With that, they have created documents where that information is captured, and the idea was to leverage the information on those documents to add those improvements into other machines in other plants that they have around the world. With time, this amounted to thousands of files with different formats, different languages, and different structures. This meant that we had multiple files in each plant and for each team, which also meant that the amount of files was so big that they could not be leveraged anymore. If you wanted to see something for a specific machine, there would be so many files that you wouldn't know where to start, and it would be a huge manual effort to just try to find one of those improvements. They decided they were going to invest their money into having a software where they can archive all of those files so that they can consult those later when they need them. The problem is that they had no way of gathering all of those files and grabbing the information inside of them, putting it into that new system, and being able to filter so they can find the specific file that they are looking for. And that's something that we fixed. What is it that they needed exactly? They needed to have all of their files into this new system. They needed their project managers to be able to filter the information in this system to find the specific file that they are looking for the improvement for the machine that they are working on. They needed to be able to do this without any further manual efforts. They didn't want to spend more hours grabbing those files and putting the information into their system. And finally, they needed a process that will allow them to not need a huge retraining of their employees, so they could still use their current templates and they could just automate the input of the information into that new system. The solution we created was the following. We created 3 AI models to interpret which language did we have, translate the information into English, and gather the information out of those files into their system. We created an automation flow that will leverage those models, and it will grab all the information into the necessary system. And finally, we documented everything and we created some simple trainings in case they want to improve that going further, or at least to be able to keep on leveraging it every time they have a new file that they want to include into the system. By the way, we create solutions like this one and many others to improve your digital processes throughout automation, data analysis, or any other type of digital solution that you may need for your specific case. If that's something you want to explore, reach out to us on LinkedIn in the link that you have down in the description. Now let's look into it with more detail. In this solution, we have the document management system that the company has, and I'm going to show you also alternatives so you don't need any other external software, but I'm going to use the case that we did with their solution. We also have the automation flow in the middle, and we have the models to be able to manage all the information and interpret what's in those files. Let me go one by one. Let's start with the document management. You could grab software that is already out there, and you could look for different companies where they will have basically software where you can upload any files that you have and then filter based on information that you want and get back the files that you want based on your filter. Now you could have that paid solution, or you could just use SharePoint and create a simple front end with a Power App, all for free with the solutions you already have with Microsoft 365. And basically what you would create is a SharePoint list with different columns that will be the information you want to filter on, things like the machine name or number, the parts, the value of the improvement, the ROI of that improvement, or any other detail that you might need to filter and look into the information that you need. Inside of each one of those rows in that list, you could also add the actual document with improvement that has all the exact details on what was done. In order to filter through that, you could filter directly on that SharePoint list, or you could create a front end with a Power App where you would basically make it easier for the end user to filter all that information and get whatever file they might need. Now that's up to you. So just take whatever is easier for your specific use case. We have the document management system, we need the automation, and we need the models for AI. Let's start with the models for AI, because it's simpler than it may look. For the models, we're going to leverage what Microsoft calls the AI Builder. In this AI Builder, you have different models that Microsoft has available for you that you can leverage. Some of them you can retrain with your own information, and some of them you can just use as they are. For example, in this case, we use 3 different ones. 2 of them we didn't retrain, 1 of them we did train. The first 2, the ones that we didn't retrain, are a language detection model. Basically, you get an input to that model and it tells you, hey, this is Japanese, this is English, this is French, whatever it may be. The second one is a translation model. So whatever you input into that model, in whatever language you have specified, it will just translate it to English or Spanish or whatever language you need to translate it into. And the third one is for custom files. What you can do there with custom files or custom documents, you are telling the model, you are giving it at least 5 examples of the documents it's going to look into, and you're telling the model each part of that document what it is. That way, the model is going to be able to read those documents and gather the information that you want based on how you have trained it. So you will provide a file, tell him, hey, this is where you find the machine number, and this is where you find the part number, and this is where you find all the rest of the information that you may need. Once you have it trained, you can feed all of your documents through it, and it will gather all the information inside those documents for each one of those files. If your case, you didn't need different languages or you didn't need different structures, this would be really simple. You would just need the document one, the model to read the documents, and you wouldn't need to train it many times. In our case, we had different structures, different languages, so the solution was more complex. But this is something that you can apply quite quick. An alternative to using Microsoft AI Builder will be to look for any type of model out there that it's OCR. Basically, the OCR models, what they do is they read information that it's on a picture. If you provide a picture of an invoice, it will be able to read the information on that invoice. So the same you could do with your document. Look around, there's many models out there. We're using the one in Microsoft because it's quite easy to retrain on your own data, and that's probably the value that you're going to need the most. We have the end, the document management system, and we have the beginning, all those AI models to read the information. Now we need to connect one with the other, and we do that with Power Automate or any automated flow. There's other alternatives. With Power Automate, what we basically did is leverage Power Automate to connect to each one of these models and transfer information between them until we get all the details that we want for each one of the files, depending on their structure, and also on the language that we want. With that, we can input that information into our system and also save the original file also in the system. And now you'll have the whole flow completely automated. Alternatives that you have here, you could use things like Zapier or Make.com. They basically work the same way. It's just not a Microsoft tool. We're using everything in Microsoft, so it's easier to integrate one with another, but all of these tools can integrate one with another, more easy or more difficult, but they can all do it. All of this took around 3 months, and it took around 3 months because we wanted to be very specific and we had a lot of different options in those documents. So if your process or your documents are way simpler, this should be slightly faster. We just took a little bit longer because we wanted to make sure everything was working fine and also that they could keep on leveraging afterwards. And that's about it. It's a very simple solution, something that will enable them to not have to do any more manual work, something that will enable them to not have to stop anybody from doing their work, to do mindless work, introducing data into that system. And it's something that you can also put together on your own organization. In fact, if you go to this video up here, I'm going to show you another solution you can leverage. In this case, we are creating automatically all the customer and all the client proposals that we have for our clients. Check it out.